This practice, this work that we do, we call science of mind, is a practice. And when we don't hold it as a practice, we can get into a place of beating ourselves up or beating others up. Like, for instance, when somebody says, what did you do to create this? That's as if they took a baseball bat and smacked you over the head with it. It's not supportive. It doesn't help. What is supportive is when we look back on the fact that it's simply a practice, a skill to be developed. And how much skill we have in any given time is totally irrelevant, because we can build this skill to the place of being a master at it. A master at science of mind, at treatment, at creating our lives the way we want. But it takes work, and the kind of work is very similar to what I've gone through on guitar. There are chords that my fingers go to and I don't even have to think twice about it. Then there are other chords I still have to practice. Now, I don't get on my case for the ones that I can't do yet. I acknowledge where I am and keep practicing. And that's the key. And this is how this is played out in my life. When I first started playing guitar at 17, and I wasn't very good at first, but I practiced, and I practiced, and I practiced for almost a year. And then I went out and played my first gig, which is where you go out. It was an open mic at a bar in the middle of the afternoon. And I get up on stage, and I start playing my songs, and there's 3 drunks at the bar booing me off the stage. So the first time I got up to play, I was booed off the stage. Well, I didn't know science of mind back then or any of that kind of stuff. I was 18 years old. I went home and I was bummed, but I kept practicing, and I kept practicing, and I kept practicing. And a year later, I went back out again to play my second gig at a place called the Improv. And I got up there in front of a packed house this time. And I played my couple of songs. And then I got off. And an agent was in the audience and came backstage to talk to me. And the agent said, you really don't have any talent at this. But you're cute. So why don't you try acting? Well, once again, I was bummed. And I went home. But I wasn't going to give up. I just kept practicing and practicing. And a couple of years later, a friend of mine who was really good at guitar, him and I started singing these harmonies, and we started a little duet. And we went out to California, and we started playing some gigs, and we started gaining some popularity. And we built a little following. And we got up to the point where we were invited to Epic Records for a audition. And so we get in there, and we do the audition, and the guy goes, "You guys are just not prime time. You're just not good enough to be on a record label at all." And my friend almost shot across the desk literally just shot, as if he was going to go straight across the desk and kill this guy. And I had to grab the back of his shirt and pull him back and calm him down. So we got out of there, and we kept practicing. And a few years later, Ralph went on to do other stuff, and I kept at the music, and I put together another band, and we practiced, and we went out, and Paul Simon's record management company signs us, and we get a record deal with Warner Brothers. And but the day before, and they put together a 60 gig tour for us around the country. And so we've been woodshedding, we've been practicing like crazy, and it's now 5 days before we're supposed to leave on our trip. So we all quit our day jobs, because now we're going to be full-time musicians on the road. It's going to be terrific. And at that time, Paul Simon had released an album called Graceland, which maybe some of you have heard of. But it hit #1. Huge seller, sold 4 million copies. And Paul calls his management company and says, "I want you to drop all your outside projects, because I want to go on the road and I want your full attention." And so I get a phone call saying, we're really sorry, but we're not going to be able to do this with you. So your record deal is canceled. Your tour is canceled. We got nothing for you. And then I got to call my band and say, I know you just all quit your day jobs, but they canceled everything on us. And so my band, every member, quit. And so needless to say, I was very bummed about this. And actually got into a pretty dark space for a while. But and I had these friends who knew that I had, knew I had some talent in me. And they came to me and they said, look, we should start another band. We can do this. We have talent, you have talent. If we put our talent together, we can really do this. And so we got together and we started putting a band together. And once again, the band started getting really good. And we started building a following. And this time, instead of the following being on the West Coast, this is right in New York City. We're building this following. We built ourselves up to where we're the highest paid non-signed act in the entire city. And we're getting the best spots in town. We're playing midnight. There was this one show where in the middle of the show, I decided to throw in an acoustic. This is a rock house. And in the middle of the show, something comes over me and I go, I want to try this acoustic number in the middle of the show. So I turn to my band and I go, stop playing. And so they stop. And I pick up my acoustic guitar, and in this rock house, which is the loudest and rowdiest place you could imagine, you could have heard a pin drop as I got into this acoustic number. And they went crazy over it. It was the most amazing time. The next day, there is an article in the New York newspaper of a review of my show. And the article opens, "What a natural." This man must have been born with such natural talent to have put on such an amazing show last night. I went from no talent at all to a natural in 7 years. It took 7 years, but it happened. And so I think about that. I think about how I went from no talent to a natural in 7 years. And I think that's what this teaching is. It's our ability to grow within us, that natural ability to know the truth each and every moment, to master it, to be brilliant with it. We can all do this. Each one of us, no matter what level of talent we begin with, can become the natural that owns the truth, embodies the truth, is the truth. And this is the beauty of the practice of science of mind.